Let's stop this. Looks like we are live. Are we live?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, there I am. Yes, there I am. So
There
we
I
are
am.
live. I am live. Let's make sure.
Hmm.
Okay. So welcome, beloveds, and we are live with Shakti. We are live with the field. So today is a beautiful Saturday, November 29th, 2025. And can you believe we're already concluding 2025? It's incredible. So here we are on Signal 3, Gate 4, the final gate of the mind, which is returning the head to God. And I really love this subject because, Shakti and I, we talk about this a lot about how we're so much in the doing. And although the doing is very important and it serves a purpose, because it's the reason why we can experience, it's the reason why we can, shake hands, hug, and we can sing and we can feel the bliss of an orchestra and a choir, and we can see beautiful performances of how the magic of consciousness can come together. Yet we can also see where we are today is what the mind does when it thinks it's God, when it thinks it's in control, when it thinks it's the master, when it thinks it's the expert. We see the results of our investments over thousands of years that we are more connected than ever. We are more informed than ever, and we have so much technology that we should be leveraging humanity's efforts. But for most of humanity, 97% of humanity, 97% of their day, they live believing we are lost, hopeless, powerless, confused, and really believing that we are separate, really believing that we have to depend either on someone or something to be better or to invest in a future that seems to never arrive. So, if you are experiencing these things that we just mentioned, you don't have to wait for the future. You are experiencing it now, so it is real for you now. But the reality of this is a wake-up call that if you can feel what you think is in the future now, why not shift that? And believe and be crazy enough to believe that you're not alone, to be crazy enough and believe that you're more supported by the universe than you can ever even imagine, and to be crazy enough to believe that you are loved more than you can imagine because you are love itself, and stop chasing, seeking love, and surrender, embody, and be love. Let love breathe you because it is. So today's beautiful subject is going to be about that, returning the head to God. And last week, we shared about shattering the false horizon. And we see the false horizon was the false truth that we are sold, that we need to fear our future, that the, corruption and all of this is a reality. But in truth, we are more united than ever before. Shakti and Michael reflect this because in our circles, we trust the people we're with. We love the people that we're with. We embrace the people that we're with. And Shakti, how many years we couldn't be ourselves, and we get to be ourselves in this lifetime. We get to really be ourselves and not hide and be like shapeshifters and, chameleons in different rooms because we want to fit in. We want to be accepted. We want to stand out or we want to be successful. But yet, how much do we sacrifice our life for 20, 30 years to be successful or even in 2 to 3 years, but we don't really know who we are? And we fit a model that we're trying to improve, but the model is truly perfect because it is designed by the divine universe, God itself. Let's start with that, and then I'll be sharing over here in the background.
So the first word I want to pick up from what Michael just shared is the word success. Now, I have never felt more successful than I do now because the success that Michael referred to, that we've all been trapped in, like he and I for the last 20, 30 years, and each of you in your own races, whoever's listening at whatever point in time, When you think of success as something outside of you or something to pursue in the future, that is the materialistic success that everyone talks about. But real success is when you are satisfied and grateful for every present moment. And the beauty of this divine alignment and unconditional universal oneness of that love, that
Mm.
makes you successful in the now. The feeling of immense gratitude that permeates every cell of your body and every aspect of your life, that makes you feel successful, because the success is now in the present moment. It's not something in the future. So obviously, whenever we all future, it's about negative things. It's about worry, stress, the
Mm.
environment, the political system, the corruption, everything that Michael referred to. And therefore, it's a very simple exercise. I mean, none of it is woo. It's a very simple exercise that anytime you find yourself futuring about anything, even if it's
Yeah.
something great, planning a trip or whatever, the exercise is to basically do the planning, but then come return to the present moment, return to the heart space, return to the breath, calm
Yeah.
your nervous system, and be grateful for whatever you do have and continue planning for the future, but put a pin in it and bounce back to the present. Do not allow yourself to stay in the future, whether it's for positive things or negative things. And then you will start feeling such contentment. And then the trick is to just call that contentment success. Realize that that is success, that you are healthy, happy, balanced, aligned, and everything you've been working for 20 years is here now. It doesn't continue getting pushed into the future, because tomorrow never comes, right?
Yes. Yes. And I love that you mentioned that as I'm sharing the link. And welcome back. I love that you're here because, we've missed you for what, 3 weeks? No, 4 weeks now, right? This is the fourth.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
We've had
Timelines were
this shift on.
collapsing. Time stopped mattering.
Yes.
Yes, it's just incredible that I cleared my calendar during my Europe trip, except for the podcast. And
Mm.
every time I'd rush back to my hotel room in Italy and in Spain, and every time Michael would say, "I've just wrapped up." I'm like, "How?
Yeah.
How am I doing this every week?" But maybe the message was meant to go out for Michael only, and I have joined in now, and this is exactly what we're trying to do. That one by one, each of us vibrationally join in to the awareness and the remembrance, and the more of us that remember. I mean, imagine what a privilege it is for each person who's here listening to the podcast, for
Mm.
Michael and myself, to know that we are alive in this biological body, witnessing the
Yes.
return. It is really an honor and a privilege.
And thank you for that, beautiful mirror, because you have been missed. But just as we tell our wife, we don't miss anything because even the frequency of missing out, it brings it tightens your nerves. You feel like you need to be somewhere else or someone needs to be there with you. So we know that wherever Shakti is, I mean, we are so interconnected. It's incredible. The thing that we wanted to share from what you shared is that the thing that we envisioned right now as you were speaking is how we've all worked on forgiveness, right, beloved? And forgiveness is how the mind entraps the consciousness to think it needs to do something in order to move forward. But yet we need to work through that in those beginning stages because we are so inundated with programming. And programming makes us think that we're right or wrong. I mean, when we were growing up, our parents said, no, don't do that. And although it was out of protection and although it was out of survival, but it constrict the nervous system. It hardened the shell of needing to survive to fit in because we're fitting in with our parents, right? So now as we mature, we realize as parents that when we give a child a choice, they make their choice and they experience their mirror of what wisdom will awaken within them from a place of love. But it's so easy to program our children with fear. So if we look at the mirror of the collective, you didn't do anything wrong, beloveds. We're here now. So the thing that we can say that would really catapult your reality is the brain does not sense a positive or negative experience. It doesn't sense a right or wrong or good and bad experience. It doesn't judge the way that we think. What it feels is what is the best investment for the outcome of the self-preservation of my identity, of what I think I am. So the reason why we're sharing this is if you are relying on thought to tell you who you are, then you're living in the old timeline of the old society, of the old belief system, because that got us to where we are today. But if you are questioning your thought, you're starting to break out to the prison of the little you that you've been told you are. And really, when we really boil this down, is we chose to be here. We look at the universe and we see one common denominator. The universe needs permission in order to act. You look at this in your life, you look at this in your relationships. If you don't accept it, if you don't give it permission for yourself, you cannot experience it. So if you realize that life is based on a permission slip, however, there is a divine a comedy that when you have, let's just say, when you have divine appointments that you've agreed certain things to happen to you while you're here, that is a permission slip bigger than your ego. That is a permission slip from the soul consciousness contract. So we're not talking about, when things happen to you. Why was I born in an abusive family? Why that this comes from much more than our wildest comprehension. What we're saying is in this life that you get to choose how you start your day, how you perceive your day, how you perceive your relationships. This is a gift of choice that you're given the sense that you have choice, but really your subconscious is choosing those choices. And the more you shift your subconscious to realize you have a superconscious, which is why we get into the I am, the God, the source, the universe, then the subconscious will serve the superconscious. And when you realize that the brain is only the servant, is the mirror of how you're either taking responsibility of that or you're denying the responsibility of the gift that you've been given. Because out of all species, excuse me, out of all species, humanity is the one that gets to have logic, reason, cognitive, and like prefrontal cortex divine technology. Like we are the ones that have been given that gift. But the question that we're not asking ourselves, because we push the responsibility to the government, to society, to even our parents. Oh, it's because of my mother that treated me like this, or it's because of my father that treated me like this, or even we did it, Shakti. It's because of my husband or my wife that I'm upset today. No, it's because you choose to be, because no one can make you anything. The minute that you say, oh, someone made me this, you're using your gift of the freedom of this logic, reason, and really intelligence of intellect that is channeled through intellect to believe that someone else has your keys to freedom.
Absolutely. That is so true. And that is it, what it all boils down to. So we have the freedom to choose. Each individual has the freedom to choose how we're treated, what we decide, how we react. So when somebody, if you put your happiness on someone else, like Michael said, thinking they have the key to your freedom, your existence, validation of who and what you are, um, that's the moment that you lose. Because even in the biggest fight, even in the midst of rejection, it's our choice whether we choose to be hurt or whether we choose to accept it as a lesson. And that is one of the cornerstones of how Michael and I started walking the path of self actualization from the self awareness, is when we realized that we can choose. So we
Yes.
can choose to feel loved in the moment, even if the environment around us is making us feel unloved. It is
Yes.
hard. It's very, very challenging because we are human. We hurt, we feel cry, we have all the emotions. But it is our choice to choose love every time. And the
Yes.
love comes for oneself, that I love myself. This person might be working out their own story. I don't have to join that person there if I choose not to. And
Exactly.
that's how you choose love every moment. And this gap, it's also this is what we talk about, like playing with time, right? Like between action and reaction, there is actually a really big space. It's infinity. It's
Yes.
between the breath, and when you access that gap, it is infinite. So even though it sounds like, oh, how am I supposed to take the time to decide how to react when we've been conditioned our whole lives to just instinctively react? That's the whole thing. You don't instinctively react. You don't let the past programming, the past stories make help you decide how to react. You go into the breath and you decide, okay, and you'll be amazed how fast the brain actually processes everything, how fast the subconscious mind actually comes up and says it's actually okay, and then you make the choice and the vibration shifts. It's that magical. And of course in the beginning it is difficult if you haven't practiced it before, um, to take that pause, but as you practice it, I promise you that it gets easier and easier, and time actually slows down, and the gap between the two things isn't as small as you think it is.
Exactly. And we have a confession to make, because last week we experienced how time is an illusion. I mean, literally, we experienced that right online. So we're going to serve as a mirror to experience, so we can collectively experience this, so that we can simplify and identify this and not repeat because when we repeat what we don't want and we deny, we actually give it more power than all the mantras and everything that we can do. So we're going to go live and we're going to be humble and open and really put ourselves out there. So right now, when Shakti was speaking, you saw me look to the side. If you notice, the body will mirror where it's at. So we looked to the side because we were thinking about what she said, because we automatically responded without being present for a moment, because we said yes. But then we said, wait a minute, do we really know what we're saying yes to? So we took that moment to pause and check in. Are we really saying yes, or are we fitting in because we want to look like we're just on the same page? This is this is this is part of the human experience, because it's not a right or wrong thing. It's taking accountability and taking responsibility, which gives you that authority to shift the perspective, the belief, the thought, and the experience. So, with that being said, is something came to us from knowing the addiction of that. How many times do you say yes to a conversation, but you're not really present? Do you know that when you fit in, you lock up your nervous system and you create chaos in your body, you create distortion in the mind, and you create a confusion in your perspective? It's incredible how subtle this is. But when you start to take these micro managing moments of the magic that you've been given, that this is the vibrational medicine, you can literally diagnose, you can prescribe, and you can, I don't want to say heal, but you can harmonize your reality. Like, we've just gave you the keys to the kingdom, but here's the thing. We can't force it down you. So this is why if you need support, reach out. You're not alone, because this video will not be your answer. No video that you find will be your answer. It's like if we give you a marketing system, or like, what is it called? An MLM system, like a online business system, and we tell you, hey, we gave you everything. We mapped out everything for you. But if you don't take action on it, it's just going to feed the mind saying, oh, I got it. And then you're going to wait for another opportunity in the future. This is how humanity lives, waiting for tomorrow that never arises, because we don't really take accountability and responsibility, and we don't really feel the authority of the gift of human divine consciousness that we've been given. Because we all know, Shakti, we all know that yes, we're human, but do we feel a sense of there's something more than this human consciousness? Do we feel like there's something like this innate intelligence that when when we think we know what we're doing, it falls apart, and then we say, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I listen to my intuition? Why didn't I follow that direction or that pull? Or why didn't I say yes to this? Or you know what? Why didn't I say maybe not now to this person because they were later on toxic in life?" Because every person that we work with, and we mean this, every person that we work with, which is really a mirror, so thank you, because we're all mirroring the one. We've asked them this, either it's a toxic relationship or it's a toxic business transaction or whatever. We say, how did you feel before you had a perspective of the experience? Well, I kind of felt this and that. Okay, when we don't listen to that, perspective drives what we think is reality. So when we don't listen to that initial tug or that pull or that sensation, then we fall for the programming instead of honoring presence. Because presence is giving us intelligence always. But when we're not when we're not sensitive enough and we're not softened enough and we're not we're not slowing down because intelligence responds in simplicity. When you soften your reality, when you slow down your reactiveness, when you lighten your load of all the past and the future that we store in all these files and all these zip files, that when you open up one, oh my gosh, it brings a whole a smorgasbord or a whole buffet of problems, anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, analysis paralysis, that we were guilty of that. And look at what we've created here by following the pull of consciousness, the pull of God, source, universe, whatever you want to call that. Now we're in like signal three of a podcast that we're just like every week we just surrender to the flow, right? And we mirror so that presence can mirror through AI. What is the message this week? What is the message this week? And really, we've created a roadmap, Shakti and I, of a simple way that you can realize your soul in this signal. But if you don't want to wait till January 31st, which is going to be the culmination of that, then reach out to Shakti or Michael, because you can literally live this today. Because here's the thing, Shakti. Michael wishes he would have known this like 25 years ago, that what we seek is right here, right now. All the striving, all the seeking, all the searching, which we're grateful for, because we had to be, you know how when you are raised in a rich family, like the Buddha, right? He was a prince destined for a kingdom, and everything that he was given was perfect. A flower wouldn't even what do you call that? Wilt or die. It was replaced every day. It was replaced every day so that he can only see the beauty in reality. So his father robbed him from the beauty of suffering, the beauty of death, the beauty of scarcity, because he couldn't appreciate life. And this is, I mean, we're not saying that we know what he experienced, but we're feeling it. And it's like, if you only experience beauty, it's like Pleasantville. I'm not sure if you ever watched that, but it's a movie where everything is perfect and every day is the same, and it gets boring after a while. This is why we have duality, because the soul wanted to experience like its vastness of what it can experience instead of knowing what it already knows. So when the Buddha was experiencing this, he left the kingdom because he couldn't help the people outside when he was inside. So he left the kingdom and the people representing like the wholeness of creation. So he left the kingdom and he looked at people that were suffering. He said, you know what? I want to find out what's the cause of suffering. Right, Shakti? You know the story better than I do. And he sat and he meditated on that question. See, we meditate more as a collective on the question of, you know, why is the government this? Why is my partner acting like this? Why is the news, this? We don't say that, but we say, why don't things change? When is the world going to change? That's what we meditate on. And we meditate on what we don't want instead of meditating to find the solution or not to find, instead of meditate to be revealed the solution because it is here. We meditate and we co-create more scarcity, more survival, which is really what you were saying is we're succeeding as a collective on experts of survival, experts of scarcity, experts of separation. Because why do I say this? Because the majority of the world will argue with you, and they're so convinced why we're separate. My belief is better than yours. My coaching thing is better than yours. My faith is better than yours. My my water is better than yours, right? Even though I love my water, but it's not better. It is one. But my cat My baby is better than yours. Look at my baby. Look at my cat. It looks more pretty. It looks more. No, it's consciousness wrapped in form. So what I'm getting at is if you feel this and you can take responsibility on how you contribute by believing that you're separate, by believing you're alone, lost and confused. You don't have to stay there. See, when you say yes to yourself, you're not saying yes to yourself. You're saying yes to the entire field. And the more of us say yes to ourselves, the more we will dissolve what the person, the persona, the ego can't do in thousands of years that God, source, universe, presence, I am, can do in one generation, one decade, one year, when we really surrender to it. And just a whisper of this truth, what happened in 2020 when we let go of trying to control nature and we were locked in our homes? How did nature thrive? How much trust did animals, predators, and prey alike were walking down neighborhoods? We're meant to be united. Now, I'm not saying go hug a tiger because, I mean, you have to work on your consciousness before you can, feel to unite with the tiger. What I'm saying is we were meant to unify all of life because all of life is truly united. We just have believed that we're not.
So that's exactly it, right? It's the balance. It is consciousness in our, through us, decided to evolve into experiencing duality
Yes.
just so that, just for fun probably. I mean, it doesn't have to even be that serious. Like one day it's like, okay, let's try this. So
Right.
then duality got born, and our mind became the filter that created the duality. The
Yes.
remembrance that Michael and I are talking about is going back to before that choice, before the duality that exists in the three-dimensional world that we experience in our biological form, whilst holding the knowledge that we are all one.
Yes.
So that oneness then informs our choice in the duality, whilst we're enjoying the joys and the sorrows and the trials and the tribulations, and learning to be in the heart space, learning to be unshaken by what's around. And that is at the core of the Buddha's teaching. It is all about moderation, it's all about balance, it's about enjoying
Mm.
whatever the 3D has to offer. That includes food and
Yes.
experiences and travel and tears and laughter, both. So we see the world then as a buffet, as a smorgasbord, as Michael said, and this is just beautiful imagery that we get to go back to the buffet table again and again and
Yes.
try this and try that and try this and try that. That's why that analogy and not an a la carte analogy, right? He didn't say
Yeah.
restaurant. He chose very deliberately to use the buffet, which is,
Right.
as we know, we can pile our plate as high as we want. We can go back as many times as we want,
Yes.
and we pay just that one price. And
Yes.
that's what we did. We chose to be born. That's our entry ticket. And now let's enjoy everything. And it is like being a kid and going to the carnival.
Mm.
We don't play every single game, but we try to play as many as we can. We see how long we have to queue for the biggest roller coaster, and then,
Yeah.
we either get a bunny or another plushie, but we don't get them all. But we
Right.
see
And we
them
want
all,
the
and we
biggest
hit
one. Yeah. And we want the
exactly.
biggest one, right?
We
Go ahead.
the biggest.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes we get it and sometimes we don't. And that's the duality. Learning to be okay with both. Just being happy that you're at the carnival and everyone together there is one. When you think about the screams you hear from a roller coaster, it's like a unified one.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
best example of the fact that despite the illusion of the duality, we are all one. That consciousness is one, and we are but
It truly
little
is.
parts of the same one.
And you mentioned several things that, I mean, when you mentioned the buffet, it's like we've all done this. We've all been guilty of this or subjective to this, right? Your senses overtake you. And when you eat too much, oh my gosh, you can't even get up and you regret, oh my gosh. And then later, maybe your release is not that pleasant because you ate way too much. And I think this represents and reflects, humanity's gorging on programming, right? And when you say that, we are the infinite and we're choosing to experience all these different things, well, it's not that challenging if we really reflect for those that are wondering, how does this make sense, right? Why do you watch a movie of your favorite movie again and again and again? It might not be my favorite movie, it might not be your favorite movie, but everyone has their favorite movie that speaks to them that they can watch again and again and again, right? Or why, this is something in our alley, Shakti, that we did, right? Or that Michael did. Why do we invest in all these different coaching programs and courses and retreats and all that, and we still don't feel enough? We need more. We need more. We need more. We need more. Because we don't really surrender and appreciate that one of what it actually did. Because it's not that coaching programs don't work. It's not that courses don't work. It's not that information doesn't work. It's a necessity. It's a needed thing. But the thing is that our attention span as human beings is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Before, as children, we would be able to play with the stick. Maybe we are a little up there in age that, the people that are 20 and 30 are not going to get this. But when we were little, we could play with the stick for hours. We played with marbles. I mean, think about how boring marbles is for most people. It's like, I'm not going to sit there and, throw a ball and hit another ball. You know, for many, it's boring. But for us, it highlighted our day. I was looking forward to playing marbles the next day. So it's like, this is a mirror and also the mirror of how we create things. It's becoming so automated and so similar and so copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, because this is mirroring the mind's dullness and numbness of nothing is making sense anymore. Nothing is creative anymore. Nothing is authentic anymore. It's just copy paste, copy paste. I mean, we look at most neighborhoods, it's just a copy paste version of another home, right? But when you look at our ancestors, when you looked at a home, oh my gosh, it was unique. It was built with so much intention and so much consciousness and so much intimacy and love and connection, right? There was an idea, there was a purpose, there was an intention behind it. So the reason why we mirror this is that is reality, that is life, that is richness. If every day is an empty canvas for you, you're living the greatest life. But if every day is a repeat of yesterday, of last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago, I mean, there's people that you can meet and it's past 40 years and they're the same person. Now maybe different things have changed, but their character, their behavior, their perspective is no different. And this is the mirror of how the ego stays to the comfort zone of identity and does not want to change. And this is why we go through crisis, chaos, and suffering, because that is the gift of how to be able to die before we die, so that we can live beyond this life that we perceive as life. Because as most of us perceive life, as we once did, life was empty, life was dull, life was the same every single day. And for many of us, it seems that way. But when you see reality falling apart, it is really coming together. So for Shakti and I, we don't live tied to the TV. We don't live tied to the news and, the stock market and all of that. We live tied to the greatest currency, the greatest abundance, the greatest success, the greatest richness of the frequency of now, of I am. And for others, God, Source, Universe, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Brahman, all of that. I mean, it's the same thing. So I know we can speak on this for lifetimes to come, and this is why so many libraries are filled with endless information, because we've attempted to to box it in so that we could pass it on, but really it was meant to be lived. So we invite you to live it, not just read it, not just study it, not just memorize it, repeat it, and recycle it, and wonder why things don't seem to change. But we invite you to embody it, to live it, to realize you are it. You don't got to go chase it. You don't got to go study it. Well, you can study by embodying life because there's a different library and there's a library inside of us all. And it's the same unified library. We're all one. Whether we're talking about the DNA, that if we dissect a human in any human, we realize that we all are structured the same way. We're all built the same way. We all come from the same source. And if we look at the universe, we realize it's all interconnected. Every single aspect is playing its piece. And it's no different than the inner universe and the outer universe. So if we see this inherent oneness undeniably present within science, within faith, within the educational field, within the medical field, I mean, we see that, you know, anyways, we can go on and on and on, but we see that the same procedure to operate on a heart is the same that someone else is going to do for you. So we all have the same heart. We all have the same liver. The way that we treat it, it's going to appear to be different. We're all given the same fairness when we are born, just depending on, if you have pregnancy difficulties, but that's based on how your mother was treated, emotional, perceptual, and environment effects, and whether they smoked, whether they did drugs, whether they were abused, all of this affects the production of the baby. So besides all of this, we're given all liberty of how we're created. So we are one. And as we go into next week, Shakti, we're going to go to reawakening, uniting the heart. And I'm excited for next week. So these four gates were about the mind. And this is the last gate that we invite you to not think that your life is your life, not think that your success is your success, not think that your car is your car, your children are your children, your bank account is your bank account. No, it's the fields, it's channeling through you. Your success is so that you can mirror so that other people can experience it. Your love is so that your love can mirror of what's possible, of what other people that have been sold love, that maybe they think it's abuse, maybe they think it's rejection, maybe they think it's fitting in. Your love, surrendering to love, is going to mirror to others that they could be who they are and realize that they are love itself. So you're not here to just experience this for you. You're experiencing it for the whole. Because in this lifetime, we get to embody what lifetimes in this life. You talk about richness, Shakti. Do we get to live this lifetime? Thousands of lives in one? Because I don't know about you. Well, I do know because we've talked, but we're just saying this for what do you call it? Catchy phrases, okay? I don't know about you,
Mm-hmm.
but I I know that we've lived thousands of lives in this lifetime, and it's never the same every single day. It's beyond what we can even. That's like wow. We get downloads, we get aha moments, we get, you know, and people call this the woo-woo life or the airy-fairy life. Let me tell you, the woo-woo life, the airy-fairy life is believing you're not enough, believing there's something wrong with you, believing that, you were born exclusively to the entire universe, beautiful, whole, perfect, and complete, that you were a mistake, that you were a divine accident, that you were um, a cosmic mistake in the source of creation, which is far from the truth.
Absolutely. So it's exciting to know that we're going from the mind to the heart space next week. And out of everything that you shared, the one thing I'm going to repeat for the field for us to really embody is the fact that this cut copy paste also includes drama and stories. It doesn't, people who love to complicate their lives thinking only about the external,
Yes,
and when you meet old friends, it's almost a badge of honor in this conditioning to say, "Oh, you haven't changed." I mean, excuse me,
true.
why wouldn't you change? Why wouldn't you evolve? Why wouldn't you find new ways of being existing, being
Mm,
mindful, being present, being grateful? That is probably the biggest change that anyone can ever make.
yes,
So once you do that, then reality shifts, as we've discussed on this podcast, and as Michael and I have proven by living our lives the way that we do, and the satisfaction that we experience. Um, We just want to put that message out there so that more and more people can live in that kind of flow and that kind of love, because we are all one. So we can only be at ease once everyone else is at ease with us, and all aspects of ourselves are returned home and are aware. And it's such an honor and privilege to be living these 1,000 lives in one life. And that
Yes.
only comes when you're willing to change and shift. So thank you for being here, everybody. We shall see you here, same time, same place, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yes. And make sure that in the next couple of minutes at 9 a.m. Pacific, we are going to commence our Vibrillionaire membership after party for Signal 3, Gate 4. That if you need support, if you have any questions, you have any observations, you have any suggestions, bring them to the field because we're not just uniting in conversation, we're uniting in consciousness. So we can cry together, we can sing together, we can scream together, we can celebrate together. Because when we embrace it all, we realize that this is much bigger than our little self. And we realize that we are not alone, that just like Shakti mirrored, we are truly seen, we are truly felt, we are truly supported by the field that, like Einstein said, you can either live in a universe that believes it's against itself, that everything is against you, and that's paranoia, which let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much you have or how much you've done. If you live in paranoia, it's never enough. Or you can live in a universe where Shakti and I choose to live, where the universe is more than supportive. The universe is more than abundant. The universe is more than alive. And we invite you to join us. We will see you in the next 15 minutes. Much
Okay,
love.
bye for now.
And we'll see you next week. Oh, do you want us to whisper the gate for next week?
Sure.
Okay, just 1 second. I'm excited. I already want it to be the 31st. I already want it to be. Hold on a second. I was going to say a date, but dates don't matter.
Yeah, and technically it's not the 31st, it's the 7th of December. We're already in December, according to the human made calendar.
No, but we're talking about the final gate for Signal 3 is going to be January 31st. So,
January 31st, right.
yeah. So, and okay, so here we go. So, gate 5 is the heart's first dawn of remembrance. The petals begin to open, the heart remembers its vow. Love first, love last, love always. Presence whispers, welcome back. So, we're going to welcome each other back next week. I'm excited. I'm super excited.
Exciting. See
Yay.
you all there.
Hmm, thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining.